Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Sodexo Foundation Youth Grant Applicant Webinar. My name is Sarah Berry, I'm YSA's Grants Manager, and welcome to the webinar. First, I'm just going to go over today's objectives and tell you a little bit about what you'll be learning, and then at the end I'll be answering some of your questions. So we'll talk about an overview of YSA and the Sodexo Foundation Youth Grant Program. We'll hear from Maria Rose Belding, who is a youth who created her own food drive guide to give you some background on different projects that a youth can create. We'll go through the criteria of the application and what you should be including as you're filling out the application and what we're looking for. And then we'll also discuss the application and rubric to help you prepare and implement your high-quality project. So first, just a quick overview about Youth Service America. Our mission is YSA improves communities by involving youth ages 5 through 25 in youth-led service projects. And YSA works through 4 key strategies, as you'll see on the screen. Our first being mobilization campaigns. Our biggest one is Global Youth Service Day. We also work through grants, of which we give over $1 million annually. We provide resources and trainings, and we also give away awards and recognition programs. So now I'm going to pass it over to Maria, who's going to tell you a little bit about her project and how to get involved. So Maria, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, great.
Fantastic. Hi guys, my name is Maria. Like Sarah said, I'm from Iowa. And I'm the girl in the blue on the picture that you're looking at. The other girl is my business partner. And part of my work with YSA is Fighting for Food, which is a 19-page PDF guide for high school students or middle school students that want to run food drives. The link to download it is right there. Food drives are something they're very simple. They're not hard. They're very rewarding. You can make a really big difference. They're just something sometimes people are afraid to do because they're really hard to start. If you've never done it before, if you're not sure, sometimes getting your peers involved can be kind of hard. So we went over that with input from almost 50 different students and teachers, nonprofits, food shelves. We talked to a lot of different people to get a lot of different people's perspectives. So if you need somewhere to start or you need some more resources on hunger, I invite you to download that. It's a really good resource, and YSA has been super awesome with helping us. Part of the other reason I'm talking to you today is talking about how you can impact hunger and how you can really try to make a difference. And my advice to you is to get educated. When you really understand the issues that you're up against, it's easier to act because you understand how large of a problem it is, and it lets you really empathize and just start to get why this is so important. So the first bullet point is A Place at the Table, which is a documentary that streams on Netflix if you have it. Otherwise, you can get it on iTunes. It's a really, really good documentary about hunger in the United States, especially childhood hunger, which is, the statistics on that are just absolutely mind-blowing. The next one is feedingamerica.org. Feeding America is the U.S.'s largest hunger nonprofit. They also have a project called MAP, the Meal Gap, and it lets you look at food insecurity, which is the technical term for hunger, and lets you look at food insecurity rates in an area as small as a county. So you can see for your town how many kids a month are going hungry, how many adults. You can see how much the average cost of food is, how many of your citizens are on food stamps or SNAP. You can look at a lot of those different things and start to see the local and national impact of hunger. And the last one is just go visit your local food shelf. Just go take a look, offer a hand in sorting. Once you spend some time there, you'll really start to understand why this is so important and what you can do about it. And what else you can do, use your voice. You're listening to a YSA webinar, so you're obviously pretty involved, pretty passionate youth to begin with. Those adults, and I'm sure you've encountered this too, adults are not used to listening, to having youth have something incredible to say, and you know youth. You know that a lot of them do. So if you can really understand what you're talking about and really get passionate about it, and you can talk to adults about why this matters, you can have incredible effect, and talking to your peers too. Also, another great part of being youth is we are very tech savvy as a whole. So utilize social media, talk about it on Facebook, tweet about it, Instagram, whatever you use and whatever you have a network of, go ahead and use it. And the last one is advocate for SNAP and WIC funding. SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is better known in the U.S. as food stamps, and WIC is Women, Infants, and Children, which is basically food stamps for new moms and pregnant women. The reason that advocating for SNAP and WIC funding is so important is that I believe it's 6%. In the U.S., every food bank, every food shelf, every homeless shelter that serves meals, every church that does, a free breakfast, that's 6% of the national need for food aid. The rest of it comes from SNAP and WIC. And SNAP and WIC also, they come on the chopping block a lot during congressional debates, during budget issues. A lot of times they're one of the first things that get cut, and they're incredibly important for these families. They're lifelines for a lot of these families, and so I really encourage you to advocate for that funding because it's really, really important. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Maria. Hopefully those of you listening kind of understand a little bit better the impact that youth can have, and Maria just gave us a great overview of how you can become more educated and what you can do. So feel free to check out her blog on our page. It's a really great resource. If you have questions, feel free to let me know and I can pass them on to Maria as well. So thank you about that. So now we're just going to go over the grant requirements a little bit. So this grant is for United States youth, ages 5 through 25. Your projects will take place on Global Youth Service Day, which is April 11th through the 13th. And your applications are due by midnight of January 31st. So you have a little bit of time to think about it and really create a well-rounded application. On the left, you'll just see more about the grant. Each grant is up to $500, and they're available for youth-led service projects that bring people together, families together, Sodexo employees, and other community members. And the topic that you'll be addressing is childhood hunger. Now we're just going to walk through the online application and see if anyone has any questions. So as you can see in front of you, this is the application login. If you don't already have a login for this, you can create one right here below where it says sign up. But we have a login, so just give me 1 second. So as you'll see, this first part about the application is all about the project leader. So that is the youth that will be leading this project. It's just the basic contact information, first name, last name, the age, email address, and telephone number, so we know how to reach you. It's pretty straightforward and just basic contact information. The next is about the project leader's parent or guardian. If the project leader is under the age of 18, we need to have a parent, guardian, in contact information as well as the project leader's information. If you are ages 18 to 25, you can just feel free to put NA for these sections here. But again, pretty straightforward. Next is about the project mentor. So we're asking you to find an adult project mentor who will support you in completing your project. It could be anyone who's interested in helping you, whether it be a teacher, a parent, a coach, another youth leader, someone working with the school or youth organization that you're working with. We ask that you find this person to help you and not take over the project. So while they will be giving you advice and supporting you through this project, the project is led by the youth. So just take that into consideration as you pick someone as your mentor. So the next step is questions about the sponsoring organization or school. YSA requires all applicants to be associated with a sponsoring organization or school, and we do not send grant funds to any individuals. So this is important so that when you receive the money, it doesn't go directly to you or to your mentor or to your parent. It goes to an organization that you'll be working with throughout the course of your project. And this could be someone, if your mentor works for this organization, or could be someone separate from that. But just make sure that you do have an organization that you're working with throughout this project. The next question is just for our own personal resources, we want to know how you found out about the grant opportunity. And as you can see in front of you, there's a long list of ways that you could have found out about this opportunity, and we're just interested to know how you found out about this opportunity and learn more a little bit about that. So again, pretty straightforward. Just check the box that applies to you. Here's the section where we ask you all about your project. So we want to know your project summary. What is your project about? And then we'll ask you about community needs. So using a little bit of research about your community and about childhood hunger, please, we want you to explain why your project is needed. What is that community need that you're seeking to help? The next question is your inspiration. So why is the issue of childhood hunger especially important to you? Was it a personal story? Is it someone else's story that you've heard? Was it a newspaper article that you read that really stuck out to you? We just want to know why this issue is really important to you. And that could be a number of things. There's no right or wrong answer. We're just interested to learn why childhood hunger is especially important to you. The next question is how you'll measure the change or improvement that your project will make. So as you can see, for example, we'll count the number of shirts, pants, socks, etc. that will be donated. So how will you measure the impact of your project over the course of time, and how will you make sure that it will continue on in the future? We want to see a long-lasting impact, so being able to measure that is really important. Another thing that's important is the total number of volunteers. We want to make sure that you're not doing this project all by yourself. We want to make sure you have other youth involved and people that are helping you with this project. The next piece is what you'll be doing on Global Youth Service Day. So as I mentioned before, it takes place on April 11th through the 13th. And so we're curious to know what you'll be doing on that day. Specifically, how many volunteers will you have? What kind of event will you have? What will the service look like? Just give us kind of a detailed account of what you'll be doing then. And it's definitely possible that things will change or come up, but we would like to know what you'll be doing on that weekend. And lastly, demonstrations. So how will you let others know about the results of your project? So will you reach out to public officials? Will you have your own website and Facebook and Twitter and tweet about it? Will you reach out to local radio stations or TV shows? We're just interested to know how others will find out about the project that you've been working so hard on. Next is you have to submit a budget. So since the grant is for $500, we ask that you lay out a budget of what you'll be using that $500 for. So as you can see on this page, and you can see as you log in as well, there are things that we are able to fund and there are things that we are not able to fund. So this is important for when you're filling out your budget. Take this into consideration to make sure that you're not putting any items on your budget that we cannot fund. So I'll just go through quickly what those things are and what we cannot fund. So things that we are able to fund are recognition items such as t-shirts, certificates, plaques, any sort of awards, snacks, and refreshments, but we do only ask that you spend $200 or less on that. That is just one of our requirements, so just take that into consideration as you're filling out your budget. Anything that you need to complete your service, whether it's art supplies or seeds to plant a variety of different things, baskets to transport meals, local transportation for youth doing service, all those are things that you would need to complete your service, and we definitely do fund that. And lastly, postage, copying, printing, anything directly related to your project that you need to be printed or sent is also acceptable. Things that we cannot fund, so any piece of expensive equipment that's only going to be used once, so such as a GPS or an iPad or things of that's only going to be used once, then we do not fund that. However, if the equipment will be used many times in the future and it will further your project for the better, then please just be sure to explain that to us in your budget, and we'll take a look at that as that comes about. We also cannot fund any direct payments to people, such as a DJ, or if you're paying someone to speak at your event. We do not pay for that, but we also encourage you to fundraise otherwise. So if you have other funds that are coming in, you're more than welcome to use that money for paying someone directly. We just cannot fund that. And then anything that you list as miscellaneous expenses that you don't fully explain will not be accepted. We want to know exactly where this money is going and that it's directly related to your project. So just give us an overview of where that money will be spent and how it will improve your project. So anything that's miscellaneous, we cannot fund. And also long-range expenses not directly related to the proposed project. So we should be able to tell from your budget that each of those items is directly related to your project, and if we feel that it's not, then that will not be funded as well. So just things to think about as you are creating your budget and submitting it as well. And as you'll also see on this page, you can open at the bottom an attached Excel document, and you'll see a sample budget at the top of the page. So I'll just open that up really quick. And as you can see, we have an example budget here at the top. So we ask you to put each line item. So for the first one, you can see garden expenses and the number of items that you need of each of those, how much each one costs, the total cost for all of those items. We also want to know how much money you have donated or in-kind donations as well. And then you'll total that all up and put that in the yellow column. So this is a really easy way to just look at an example and then be able to reproduce that right down below with everything that you'll need for your specific project. So it's really easy, and you can download it right off of the website, just like I showed you there. So as soon as you're done with that, then you just save it, and all the requirements for how you save it is listed right here. And when you're done, you can just upload the budget, and it will be added to your application. And then at the end, the last step is just reviewing everything. So you can see all the fields that you will have filled out, and if you need to make any edits to that, you can go back and change it. And then as soon as you're done, you just hit submit. So it's pretty straightforward. Asks you all the questions that we need to know to learn a little bit more about your project and how you'll be affecting your community. So are there any questions now about specifically the application or any of the questions? All right, it doesn't seem like we have any questions yet, so I'll just keep going with the presentation. And also, if you do have questions, there is a question box on the GoToWebinar side panel. So if you have questions throughout the rest of the presentation, feel free to just type them in there, and I'll address them at the end. So now we'll talk about what makes your application successful. These are things that we'll be looking for as we go through and read your applications. So we need someone to outline a feasible project. So we need to make sure that this project will actually happen, whether it has happened in the past and you're doing it again, or if this is the first time, just making sure that it is feasible. It needs to show evidence of planning. So we like people who have done their research and know the community that they're working with, and just show us that you've been doing a little bit of planning before applying. It needs to incorporate youth involvement at all stages. The product also has to address childhood hunger issues. That's what this specific grant is for. As well as incorporating youth at all stages, the product is youth-led, as I discussed before. And we want projects that will bring people together, such as other young people, families, community members, and just anyone in your community. So just things to think about that we're looking for as you complete your application. On the screen here, you'll see some examples of past winners of this Sodexo Foundation Youth Grant. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the bold parts are pieces that are really important to include as you fill out your application. So They, as you can see, included the ages of the people who are involved. So on the left, it's youth ages 9 through 13, and on the right, it's children K through 12. So we know the population that these people are working with for their projects. It also included project outcomes such as a cookbook or could be one-on-one tutoring, as both of these examples give. Also, it addresses low income and hunger needs, so we know that not only is the population children K through 12 who will be doing tutoring, but we know that they come from low income households, which is important for this specific grant. And you can also see that they've done their research. So on the right, you can see according to the Food Research and Action Center, and then they give statistics. So it's important that not only you know the community you're working with and the ages that you're working with, but also that you've done a little bit of background research on your community as well. These are some resources that we find are really helpful, not only to learn a little bit more about childhood hunger, but can also help you in your application. They're also found on the main application page, so feel free to go back to those and read through these. The first link is to the No Kid Hungry 2 guide, and that goes through a variety of different project ideas. So if you know you're really passionate about childhood hunger, but you're still not sure what that project you're going to do is yet, feel free to take a look there. There's a bunch of different ideas and get some inspiration. The next one, Feeding America Food Bank Locator, is exactly what it sounds like. It locates local food banks in your area, whether you want to go and volunteer there or maybe collaborate with them. It just helps you find food banks in your area. And the last one is the Children's Defense Fund fact sheet, which is also what it seems like. It is a fact sheet all about childhood hunger. It lists statistics and data, and it's really helpful. It's really full of information, so feel free to use that when you're filling out your application as well. This is the scoring rubric that we will be using as we look at all of the applications. Each section gets up to 10 points, and we go through each section of the application. So as we walked through the application before, we talked about the project summary, what that community need was, what your inspiration for the project was, and the impact that you're making by doing this project. So all of those sections will be scored up to 10 points, and this is just a small overview of what that application rubric looks like, but feel free to look back at it before submitting your application so you know exactly what we're looking for. So the application deadline is January 31st. We will be reviewing the applications and announce the winners on February 24th. Your projects will take place Global Youth Service Day, which this year is April 11th through the 13th. And then we'll be asking you to do some post-project reporting of how your project went and the impact that you made, and that will come after Global Youth Service Day in May. If you have any more questions after this webinar, feel free to let me know. My email is on the screen. It's sbarrie, B-A-R-R-I-E, @ysa.org, and I'd be happy to answer any question you have. At this time, that is the end of the webinar. I'll stick around and answer some questions, but thank you so much for joining, and we look forward to reading your application. So we do have one question that asks if all volunteers need to be age 5 through 25 as well. No, we recommend, we encourage others to be involved as well. As I stated though, the product does need to be led by a youth and engage other youth. So that person needs to be age 5 through 25, but not all of the volunteers that are involved in the project need to be of that age range. So just something to keep in mind as well. There's a question about some confidentiality forms that people will have to sign once they start taking pictures and things like that at their projects. Once you have been awarded the grant, we do have a photo release form, but we'll be sure to get that to you before your project takes place on Global Youth Service Day. It's pretty straightforward, as in name and signature, so don't stress about that too much, but we do have a form that we ask people to fill out if they're going to be publicizing or sending us any pictures. There's a question, can the mentor be 25? Yes, definitely. As we said, the youth must be age 5 through 25, but the mentor can be anyone, whether it's a teacher, a parent, another youth leader. So the age of the mentor is not as important as who the project leader is. Are the slides from this presentation available for us to review? Yes, there's actually, this is the second of the 2 webinars that we're doing for this application. So if you go to our YouTube page, there is already this presentation available online. So feel free to go back and review all this information as you please. It is up there for you to look at. If you have any more questions, feel free to type them in. Again, this is the end of the presentation, and you're more than welcome to send me an email if you have any other questions. I'll stick around for a few more minutes, but thanks again, everyone, for joining.